You ever find yourself facing someone who just won't stop talking about themselves, someone who thinks the world revolves around them? Yeah, I'm talking about the narcissist. They walk into a room and somehow the air gets sucked out of it. They demand attention, they thrive on validation, and they've mastered the art of making everything about them. Narcissism is a term that we often hear, but do we really understand what it means? It's more than just self-centeredness or someone who loves looking in the mirror. Narcissism is a personality trait that can, at its extreme, develop into a disorder, narcissistic personality disorder, NPD. But even beyond the clinical definition, it's a behavior that many people can exhibit, often in toxic, damaging ways. So let's take a deeper dive into what narcissism really is and why it's important to recognize it. At the core of narcissism is an excessive preoccupation with oneself. This could manifest in many ways. For some, it may appear as an exaggerated sense of importance or an insatiable need for admiration. For others, it could show up in a lack of empathy or an inability to acknowledge the needs and feelings of others. Narcissistic individuals often see themselves as superior, expecting special treatment and feeling entitled to things that others may not receive. It's this inflated sense of self that drives so much of their behavior. One of the defining characteristics of a narcissist is their desperate need for validation. They can't stand being ignored or overlooked. They require constant praise and attention to fuel their ego, and they go to great lengths to make sure they're at the center of every conversation, every decision, and every moment. This isn't just a casual desire for attention. It's a need. And when they don't get it, when they're not the center of focus, they can become irritable, angry, or even vindictive. They have a deep insecurity that they try to mask with their outward arrogance. This insecurity is what drives their constant need to prove their worth, and it's often what makes them dangerous in their interactions with others. The narcissist's relationship with others is a transactional one. They often see people not as individuals, but as tools or means to an end. If you have something that can feed their sense of superiority, they will gravitate toward you. If you no longer serve a purpose, or if you fail to supply the validation they crave, they can just as easily discard you. Narcissists are notoriously bad at maintaining healthy, genuine relationships. The people around them are often caught in a cycle of validation seeking, where the narcissist demands attention and approval, but offers little in return. The one-way nature of these relationships makes it exhausting and draining for those on the receiving end. Another key feature of narcissism is the lack of empathy. A narcissist struggles to understand or care about the emotions of others. Their world revolves around their own feelings, and others are secondary. This can be incredibly damaging in personal relationships, where the ability to connect emotionally is vital. The narcissist may say or do things that hurt others, yet they won't take responsibility for it. They might even blame the other person for being too sensitive or accuse them of making things up. Empathy allows us to relate to one another's pain, joy, and struggles. Without it, the narcissist's interactions can often feel cold, selfish, and dismissive. Narcissism also manifests through the manipulation and control of others. Narcissists are often highly skilled in the art of manipulation. They know how to twist words, create doubt, and control the narrative. One of their go-to tactics is gaslighting, making someone question their own reality. A narcissist can take a situation where they've done something wrong, flip it, and convince the other person that they are the one at fault. They make you doubt your own experiences, your own feelings, and even your own perceptions of what happened. This manipulation can be subtle at first, but over time it can wear a person down, leaving them unsure of themselves and their ability to trust their judgment. A narcissist's behavior is often reinforced by a culture that celebrates self-promotion and individual success. In today's world of social media and influencer culture, narcissistic traits can sometimes be mistaken for ambition or confidence. But while confidence is healthy, narcissism goes beyond that. It becomes destructive when it ignores the well-being of others in favor of personal gain. A narcissist focuses always on themselves, their needs, their wants, and their image, and they will stop at nothing to maintain their dominance and control. So why is it important to understand narcissism? Because recognizing narcissistic behavior can help you protect yourself from being manipulated or controlled. When you understand that someone's actions are driven by their need for validation, you can start to see their behavior for what it really is: a cry for attention and a fear of vulnerability. You can stop feeling responsible for their emotions, and instead you can focus on setting healthy boundaries and protecting your own emotional well-being. It's important to note that not all narcissistic behavior is the same. Some individuals may show traits of narcissism but not meet the full criteria for NPD. However, even in less extreme cases, narcissistic behavior can still be harmful. It can lead to to emotional exhaustion, confusion, and self-doubt in those who interact with the narcissist. By understanding narcissism, we can start to take the steps necessary to protect ourselves from its negative effects. At the end of the day, narcissism is about power. It's about controlling others, maintaining a sense of superiority, and feeding an insatiable ego. But understanding this, recognizing it for what it is, and learning to set boundaries against it is the first step in reclaiming your own sense of power and control. Because once you see the narcissist for what they are, you stop playing their game, and that's when you take back the reins of your own life. Setting boundaries is one of the most powerful tools you can have when dealing with narcissistic individuals. Narcissists thrive on control, manipulation, and emotional domination, and they often test the limits of others to see how far they can push before there is resistance. By setting clear, firm boundaries, you take back control of your interactions with them, and more importantly, regain control over your own emotional well-being. Boundaries are the lines that define what is acceptable behavior and what is not. They help us protect our time, energy, and emotions from being exploited by others, especially by narcissists who often try to overstep these boundaries for their own benefit. When a narcissist begins to manipulate or demand more than what is fair or acceptable, it's crucial to assert your boundaries right from the start. Unfortunately, narcissists are rarely receptive to these boundaries because they see them as obstacles to their control. They often push back, testing your resolve, and may react with anger, guilt tripping, or even attempting to manipulate you into breaking your boundaries. But here's the thing, it's not about them, it's about you. The moment you draw a line in the sand, you are telling them that you will not tolerate their toxic behavior anymore. This isn't about being cruel, it's about protecting yourself from their emotional exploitation. One of the first steps in establishing boundaries with a narcissist is understanding your own limits. Ask yourself, what are the behaviors you simply will not accept? What treatment do you consider disrespectful or harmful? Understanding these limits is the foundation upon which you build your boundaries. It's essential to be honest with yourself about what you need in order to feel safe, respected, and valued in any relationship. Often we neglect to set boundaries because we fear conflict or the narcissist's reaction. But remember, boundaries are not walls that separate you from others. They are fences that keep you safe within your own personal space. Without them, you leave yourself vulnerable to the emotional manipulation and exploitation that narcissists are so skilled at. Once you have defined your boundaries, the next step is communicating them clearly and assertively. When dealing with narcissists, it's essential to be direct and unambiguous. They tend to thrive on ambiguity and can often twist your words to their advantage. So if you tell a narcissist something like, I don't appreciate when you speak to me that way, they may twist it into a blame game, turning it into your fault. Instead, communicate in a way that leaves little room for misinterpretation. For example, you could say, I will not tolerate being spoken to disrespectfully, and if that continues, I will walk away from this conversation. This leaves no room for negotiation. It's clear, concise, and non-negotiable. You are expressing what you will accept, not asking for permission or approval. In some cases, narcissists may react with aggression, belittling you, or trying to guilt you into letting your guard down. They may play on your empathy, trying to make you feel sorry for them or attempting to make you feel like you're overreacting. This is where your inner strength and resolve are tested. Stay firm. Narcissists will use every tactic in their arsenal to break down your boundaries and reassert their control. But when you don't waver, when you consistently uphold your boundaries, you send a clear message. I am not going to be manipulated, and I will not let you cross these lines. The more you practice setting and enforcing boundaries, the more confident you'll become in protecting yourself and your peace. It's also important to remember that setting boundaries is not about changing the narcissist. It's about protecting yourself. You cannot control their behavior or force them to act in a respectful way, but you can control how you respond to them. By setting boundaries, you stop reacting to their manipulations and start responding with strength and clarity. Over time, you'll begin to notice that their attempts to control or manipulate you lose their power. They may become frustrated or even hostile when they realize they can no longer get under your skin. But by that point, you've already created an emotional distance, and they are no longer able to influence you in the same way. Another key aspect of setting boundaries with narcissists is consistency. Narcissists love to test the limits, pushing and prodding to see if you'll cave in. If you let them cross a boundary once, they will expect it again and again. This is why it's crucial to remain consistent in your responses. If you've told them that certain behaviors are unacceptable, you need to follow through every time. For instance, if you've told a narcissist that you won't engage in a conversation when they are yelling at you, then make sure you walk away every time they raise their voice. If you give in in once, even out of a desire to avoid conflict, you send the message that your boundaries can be easily broken. And once that message is sent, it's harder to reestablish the boundaries you've set. Setting boundaries with a narcissist also requires self-care. This means that when you enforce a boundary, you must be willing to follow through with actions that protect your own well-being. If you've said you won't engage with them unless they speak respectfully, make sure you prioritize your own emotional needs. Don't allow yourself to be dragged back into their drama. Take the necessary steps to remove yourself from toxic situations, even if it means stepping away from the relationship entirely. This is not an act of cruelty. This is an act of self-preservation. The more you enforce boundaries, the more you reclaim your sense of self-worth and autonomy. Narcissists will always try to pull you back into their web of manipulation. But if you consistently establish clear and firm boundaries, you make it far more difficult for them to do so. Ultimately, setting boundaries with a narcissist is about reclaiming your power. Narcissists depend on your compliance and emotional reactions to maintain their sense of control. When you stand firm in your boundaries, you take away their power over you. You remind yourself that you have the right to be treated with respect and dignity, and you take control of your own narrative. By setting clear, assertive boundaries, you send a powerful message to the narcissist. You are not someone they can manipulate or control, and in that moment, you regain control of your life. Words are powerful. They shape our thoughts, influence our actions, and impact how we see the world. When dealing with narcissistic individuals, the way we use language becomes even more crucial. Narcissists often thrive in environments where there's emotional chaos, confusion, and control, and they rely heavily on their ability to manipulate situations through words. But when we understand the power of our own language, we can turn the tables, regain control, and protect ourselves from their toxic influence. This is why empowering ourselves with the right words is one of the most effective ways to disarm a narcissist. The key to understanding the power of words lies in recognizing that language isn't just about communication, it's about control. Narcissists use language to dominate, to create confusion, and to make others doubt their own reality. They manipulate conversations, twist facts, and use charm or aggression to get what they want. But when you understand this and are prepared with your own words, you can disrupt their game. One of the first steps in using words to disarm a narcissist is to keep them concise and firm. Narcissists are experts at twisting long-winded explanations to fit their narrative. When they attempt to drag you into a heated argument or a circular conversation, the key is to stay calm and use language that doesn't leave room for misinterpretation. Be brief, direct, and unambiguous. This could mean simply stating your position clearly and without emotion, such as, "That's not acceptable," or "I'm not going to engage in this conversation." Simple, clear language leaves less room for them to manipulate or distort what you've said. It's a statement of power because it doesn't require justification or approval. You are not pleading, begging, or explaining. You are simply stating what is, and that in itself is incredibly powerful. Another crucial aspect of using words effectively with narcissists is avoiding emotional engagement. Narcissists feed off emotional reactions. They want to see you angry, hurt, defensive, or upset because it gives them the satisfaction of knowing they control how you feel. The more you react emotionally, the more power they have. So one of the most powerful tools you can wield is detachment. By choosing not to react emotionally, you take away their ability to control your feelings. Respond with neutral, calm language that doesn't give them the satisfaction of seeing you upset or angry. You can say something like, "I'm not going to argue about this," or "This conversation is over." When you respond in this way, you deny them the emotional chaos they seek, and that weakens their control over you. It's also important to remember that narcissists often use words to make you doubt your own perception of reality. This is known as gaslighting, a tactic where they try to convince you that what you've experienced or felt is wrong, invalid, or unimportant. They might say things like, "You're overreacting," or "That's not what happened." These phrases are designed to make you question your reality and feel uncertain. The best way to handle this is by being firm in your truth. When a narcissist tries to twist the narrative, stick to your own story. Use phrases like, "I know what I experienced," or "That's not my reality." By reaffirming your own truth, you stop them from gaining ground in the battle of perception. Your words become an anchor that holds you steady, while their attempts to manipulate fall flat. Moreover, narcissists often use guilt to try to get you to comply with their desires. They know that many people have a strong sense of empathy, and they exploit this by making you feel guilty for not accommodating their needs or desires. When you feel guilted into doing something, it's because they've found a way to manipulate your conscience. But When you arm yourself with the right language, you can stop this tactic in its tracks. Instead of apologizing or giving in, respond with clarity. I've made my decision and that's final. Guilt doesn't work when you don't let it. Your words of clarity become the boundary that keeps them from crossing over into emotional manipulation. The power of words also lies in your ability to stand your ground and assert your needs. Narcissists may try to make you feel like your needs are unimportant or that you are selfish for prioritizing yourself. But when you use assertive language, you remind both yourself and the narcissist that your needs are just as valid as theirs. Phrases like, I need some space, or I need you to respect my decision, communicate that you matter and that your well-being is important. When you assert your needs, you take back the control they have tried to strip away, and you set the tone for how they will treat you moving forward. Finally, empowering yourself with words means not being afraid to set boundaries and walk away when necessary. Narcissists will push you to engage with them on their terms, trying to drag you into arguments, emotional games, or power struggles. But when you understand the power of language, you realize that walking away is one of the most powerful statements you can make. Sometimes the most effective response is no response at all. If a narcissist refuses to respect your boundaries or engages in toxic behavior, simply saying, I'm not going to engage with this and walking away is an act of strength. It is a direct refusal to participate in their manipulation. Words are not always about what you say. They are sometimes about what you choose not to say and what actions you take instead. Ultimately, words are an expression of your inner power. They are tools you can use to disarm the narcissist's tactics and take back control of your emotional space. When you choose your words carefully, stand firm in your truth, and refuse to engage in their manipulative language games, you demonstrate that their tactics no longer have the power to affect you. You stop being a passive participant in their emotional drama, and instead you become the active creator of your own narrative. You regain control of your emotions, your interactions, and most importantly, your life. The power of words lies not in their ability to please or placate, but in their ability to stand firm, unshaken, and unyielding in the face of narcissism. Confidence is often seen as something that comes naturally to some people, but in reality, it's a skill that can be developed and cultivated over time. When dealing with narcissistic individuals, confidence is a vital tool that can help you navigate the toxicity they bring into your life. Narcissists thrive on uncertainty and insecurity. They feed on the doubt they create in others. But when you stand firm in your own truth and carry yourself with confidence, you disrupt their ability to manipulate or control you. Confidence is like armor against their attacks. It doesn't just protect you, it empowers you. One of the key aspects of confidence is having a strong sense of self-worth. Narcissists often rely on the fact that their victims lack self-esteem or that they doubt their own value. This is because narcissists know that when someone doubts themselves, it's easier for them to insert their own narrative and manipulate the situation. But when you know your worth, when you recognize that you are worthy of respect, kindness, and healthy relationships, you stop giving the narcissist the power to undermine you. The foundation of this confidence comes from acknowledging your own strengths and capabilities, independent of what others say or think. The first step in cultivating this kind of confidence is to take ownership of your own story. Narcissists often try to rewrite the narrative, distorting facts, gaslighting, and manipulating situations to fit their desires. When you own your truth and refuse to let others define your worth, you immediately take control of the situation. This is not just about knowing what happened or what you've been through. It's about being able to stand confidently and say, this is who I am, and this is what I've experienced. No one can take that from me. When you stand firmly in your own reality, it becomes harder for the narcissist to make you doubt yourself or your perceptions. Confidence also comes from setting boundaries and standing by them. When you have the courage to assert yourself and say, this is what I will accept and this is what I won't, you create a solid foundation that supports your sense of self. Narcissists will often test your boundaries, pushing and prodding to see how much they can get away with. If you back down, if you cave to their demands, it's a signal to them that you are not confident in your own limits. But when you stand firm, when you hold to your boundaries with strength and clarity, you send a message that you are in control of your life. Your confidence grows each time you say no, each time you prioritize your own well-being over their manipulative tactics. Another crucial aspect of confidence in dealing with with narcissists is understanding that their opinions of you are irrelevant. Narcissists will try to tear you down, belittle you, and invalidate your feelings, all in an attempt to make themselves feel superior. But if you attach your value to their opinions, you allow them to dictate your sense of self-worth. Confidence means knowing that their judgment of you has nothing to do with your actual worth. Hey, it doesn't matter if they try to make you feel inferior, because their criticism is based on their own insecurities, not your reality. When you stop internalizing their words, you free yourself from their control. You no longer seek their approval because you've already given it to yourself. Confidence is also about staying calm under pressure. Narcissists can be unpredictable, often lashing out in anger or attempting to provoke an emotional response. They may try to push your buttons, provoke you into arguments, or manipulate you into giving them what they want. In these situations, your confidence will help you maintain your composure. By refusing to react impulsively, by staying grounded and composed, you take away their power. They want to see you flustered, upset, or angry, emotions that can be used against you. But when you remain calm, you disarm them. Your calmness becomes a statement that their efforts to upset you will not work. Your confidence is in your ability to stay centered, no matter how hard they try to push you. Furthermore, confidence helps you walk away from situations or relationships that are unhealthy. Narcissists often create a toxic dynamic where they hold all the power and you are left feeling drained and diminished. When you have confidence, you realize that you do not need to tolerate this behavior. You understand that you deserve respect and kindness, and that no one, especially a narcissist, has the right to treat you poorly. Confidence allows you to recognize when a relationship is no longer serving you and gives you the strength to step away. It's not about quitting or giving up. It's about protecting your peace and your well-being. When you walk away from a narcissist, you are making a powerful statement that you are in charge of your own life and that you will no longer let them control your narrative. Confidence isn't about being perfect or never making mistakes. It's about trusting yourself, knowing that you are capable, and accepting that you deserve respect and fairness, no matter what anyone else says or does. It's about taking responsibility for your own emotional health and making decisions that honor your own needs. Narcissists will try to make you feel like you're the problem, that you're too sensitive, or that you're overreacting. But when you have confidence, you can recognize their manipulative tactics for what they are. You no longer question your reactions or second guess your decisions. Your inner confidence becomes your guide, allowing you to navigate difficult situations with clarity and strength. Ultimately, confidence is a powerful defense against narcissistic manipulation. The more confident you are in yourself, the less power the narcissist has over you. When you refuse to be manipulated, when you stand firm in your boundaries, and when you know your own worth, the narcissist tactics lose their effectiveness. Their gaslighting, their emotional manipulation, their attempts to make you doubt yourself, they no longer have any power because you have taken back control. Confidence is not just about standing tall in front of others. It's about standing tall in front of yourself, knowing that you are worthy of respect and that no one, especially a narcissist, can take that away from you. When dealing with narcissists, one of the most effective strategies for preserving your emotional well-being and regaining control over your life is recognizing the importance of walking away when necessary. Narcissists thrive on manipulation, emotional chaos, and control, and they often draw others into their toxic webs, seeking to dominate their relationships and maintain power. The key to disarming this type of behavior is to know when and how to disengage. Walking away isn't about retreating or giving up. Rather, it's a bold statement that you refuse to engage in their destructive patterns. By choosing to walk away, you take back control over your life and your emotional health. At the heart of this concept is the understanding that narcissists will never meet your emotional needs. They will always prioritize their own needs, often at your expense, and they may manipulate or belittle you to maintain their sense of superiority. No matter how much you try to explain, reason, or appease them, narcissists rarely offer genuine empathy or respect. This realization is critical because it allows you to stop chasing after something that isn't there. When you walk away, you stop investing your time and energy in a relationship that only causes you harm. The more you try to get them to change, the more you may find yourself spiraling into frustration and self-doubt. But when you disengage, you reclaim your own peace and energy. Walking away requires immense strength and self-respect. Narcissists often use guilt as a tool to manipulate others into staying in unhealthy unhealthy dynamics. They might accuse you of being heartless or selfish for walking away, using emotional blackmail to make you feel responsible for their feelings or the failure of the relationship. In these moments, it's essential to remind yourself that your well-being comes first. You are not responsible for their emotional state or their happiness. Narcissists have a tendency to make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself, but this is a tactic designed to keep you under their control. Recognizing that you are not obligated to manage their emotions or meet their needs is a crucial step in breaking free from their hold. When you decide to walk away from a narcissist, it's not about leaving with anger or resentment. It's about choosing peace over chaos. By calmly disengaging, you remove yourself from the emotional manipulation and the power struggles they continually attempt to create. The narcissist may try to escalate the situation, demanding explanations, throwing insults, or even trying to guilt you back into the relationship. In these instances, walking away without responding to their provocations sends a powerful message. I am not engaging in this anymore, and I will not allow you to control me. Your ability to walk away without reacting emotionally shows the narcissist that their efforts to control or manipulate you have failed. Additionally, walking away helps to break the cycle of dependency that often forms in toxic relationships with narcissists. Narcissists are skilled at making their victims feel dependent on them for validation, approval, or emotional support. They might alternate between acts of charm and cruelty, creating a cycle that keeps you hooked. By walking away, you begin to free yourself from this cycle, gaining the emotional distance necessary to heal and regain your independence. The longer you stay involved in a toxic relationship, the more difficult it becomes to break free. But when you make the decision to walk away, you start the process of reclaiming your life. You allow yourself the space to rediscover your own identity, to connect with your own emotions, and to build relationships that are rooted in respect, trust, and mutual support. One of the most powerful aspects of walking away is that it allows you to set an example for others. Narcissists often surround themselves with enablers, people who enable their toxic behaviors, either out of fear, manipulation, or a lack of awareness. By choosing to walk away from the narcissist, you demonstrate to others that it is possible to stand up for oneself and to break free from destructive patterns. You show that it is possible to walk away without regret, without feeling weak or defeated. Your decision to disengage sends a message that you value yourself enough to step away from someone who does not respect or honor you. In doing so, you may inspire others to do the same, encouraging them to prioritize their own mental and emotional health over the toxic relationships they may be in. Another important aspect of walking away is that it allows you to regain control of your emotional energy. Narcissists are often emotionally draining, using up your energy with their constant demands, manipulations, and power struggles. By walking away, you preserve your energy and emotional resources. You give yourself the space to heal, to recharge, and to focus on the things that truly matter in your life. When you choose to stay in a narcissistic relationship, you risk losing yourself in the process, allowing the narcissist's energy and needs to dominate your existence. But when you walk away, you regain a sense of balance, reorienting your life around your own needs, values, and desires. In some cases, walking away may mean ending a relationship entirely, but it can also mean taking a temporary break to gain perspective. It's not always easy to completely sever ties, especially if the narcissist is a family member, a close friend, or a romantic partner. In these cases, a temporary break can offer the necessary space to assess the relationship from a clearer vantage point. It gives you time to reflect on whether the relationship is worth maintaining and whether the narcissist is capable of changing. During this break, you can focus on self-care, personal growth, and healing without the constant emotional manipulation or control of the narcissist. Ultimately, walking away is about reclaiming your autonomy and your peace. It is a clear and powerful declaration that you will no longer tolerate toxic behavior, manipulation, or emotional abuse. You understand that you deserve better, and you are no longer willing to sacrifice your happiness or well-being for someone else's agenda. Walking away may not always be easy, but it is an act of self-love and empowerment. It is a choice to put yourself first, to prioritize your own emotional health, and to break free from the damaging influence of the narcissist. By walking away, you step into your own power and create the space for healthier, more fulfilling relationships to take root in your life. In conclusion, dealing with narcissists can be one of the most challenging and draining experiences in life. Their manipulation, emotional control, and ability to distort reality are all tactics designed to break down your sense of self and manipulate your emotional state. But the truth is, you don't have to succumb to their games. By understanding and embracing the power of language, confidence, boundaries, and knowing when to walk away, you can take back control of your life. The words you use, the confidence you carry, the boundaries you set, and the decisions you make to disengage all contribute to creating a life where you are not at the mercy of someone else's toxicity. Narcissists thrive on your emotional reactions, your insecurities, and your dependence on their approval. But when you refuse to be manipulated, when you stand firm in your truth, and when you assert your worth, you send a powerful message. You are not a victim, you are in control. Remember, it's not about changing the narcissist, it's about changing how you respond to them. The most empowering decision you can make is to refuse to allow them to control your emotions, your thoughts, or your life. You are worthy of respect, peace, and healthy relationships. Walk away when necessary, stand your ground when required, and always remind yourself that you hold the power to create your own path. Take charge of your own life, reclaim your emotional health, and never forget that your worth is not defined by anyone else's actions or opinions. You are the master of your own destiny.